Welcome to the Women Tell All, or what I also refer to as the Bachelor in Paradise auditions. And does anyone have any mulled wine? But in all seriousness, let's unpack this episode and talk about what was just missing for me in this one. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and let's unpack this. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. As far as the Women Tell-Alls, this one was different for me. And different in some good ways, and in some other ways there were a few misses. I'd love to get your thoughts about what I'd like to go over. But the Women Tell-All for me, besides the Bachelor in Paradise audition, for me is about redemption and apologies and owning one's behaviors. And I have to say, I thought this one, compared to some other ones, was probably better than most. But the evening starts out and we see Zach and Jesse, and they're going to some watch parties. What was fascinating about this one, do you realize that Zach heads over to Delta Gamma House, the exact same house that Sean Lowe went to? I just thought that was a little bit of a fascinating tidbit. So the women, of course, are all thrilled. Everyone's laughing. And who does these kind of watch parties? My God, with the shots and heaven knows, if you came over to my house, I would be in my PJs eating some popcorn. But I really do love how excited Bachelor Nation gets about this. Now, the night starts off, and as usual, there's really no control, right? The women start bickering immediately. What's pretty typical. And they supposedly hype the women up. And I've mentioned this before, I went to Peter's tell-all, and I tell you, the women come in all decked out to the nines, and you can feel even the way that they position the women and where they seat them, that you can just kind of feel the tension and you understand who's getting along and who isn't. The night starts out, and Kat says something to Olivia, who I hadn't even recognized. I'm like, who is this person? That she says, well,
it's there. So you went home night one. So Olivia, I did. Absolutely, Catherine. I did go home night one. And Zach got to learn your personality and then sent you home. So what does that say about you?
Ooh, mic drop on that one. That kind of silenced Kat, but it felt, I didn't like the tension there. Anyway, what happens is Christina gets called out pretty quickly, and this looked like it was highly edited. That they say, Christina, you suck out all the energy in the room. And I gotta tell you, I just love Christina because she immediately did an Instagram reel where she comes in and she's sucking out the energy from all the room.
In the lake, and don't you know, it's a beautiful new day. Hey.
And I just thought this was a great comeback. But Christina really held her own from at least what we saw. That she was calm. She didn't snap back at anyone. And she really said that she just was misunderstood. And that nothing she said or did was going to appease anybody. And I really thought that was kind of the right tone. Because if you follow her, you just see her as a very different kind of likable person. Now, that brings us to Genevieve, who confronts Anastasia. And Anastasia, who had said to Kylie that she was, didn't want to quote unquote fight her. This was interesting, and I actually thought on Genevieve's part was well done. She says,
Black women in general, every day we deal with the stereotype of being aggressive people, and we deal with these very harsh microaggressions, which for anybody that doesn't know are extremely subtle, very everyday interactions and behaviors that communicate bias towards historically marginalized groups of people.
Which I thought was just really well done. But overall, she calls Anastasia out, saying that you're playing the victim, that we had already kind of accepted these apologies, but here we are again. And so Anastasia really comes under attack. I'll get to that later. Now, Kat does apologize, and we've known this whole time, this was not a surprise either, that there was going to be some tension, of course, between Brooklyn and Kat. And I really think, because we know about Brooklyn and her story, her domestic violence story, but this to me also felt like it was overacted. It was back to the, lace those, if the shoes fit, lace them up. And I felt like we needed to move beyond this, because I do know personally that apologies were said. But here's the thing that I thought that Kat could have done differently. I think that what Kat, if she really had thought ahead of this, what she really could have said is, back to redemption. Brooklyn, I've tried to land this with you multiple times. I called you. I tried to apologize with you. I was really hoping that you would come here and apologize to me as I have to you. But I'm not sure why you're really kind of leaning into this, just repeating yourself. It seems like you're really just trying to audition here, and you're not really trying to make good with me. So that's really a shame. I can't get you to like me, but I feel really confident that everything I've done, I've squared away with everyone else but you, and I'm just not sure what else I can do. Wouldn't that have been brilliant? Now, to me, that would have been also holding Brooklyn a little bit more accountable, because I do feel like Brooklyn keeps kind of digging into this. We know the producers love this stuff. They love the repeat of the one-liners, but I just felt like something was missing here, and I didn't quite understand why this plane had not landed. Okay, Jesse tries to calm it down and says, well, there's always the beach, right? Well, right here. There was the Bachelor in Paradise reference. Now, talk about Jess. Jess is the first one up on the hot seat. Why is the hot seat even important on the Women Tell All? Because that's usually the entree to Bachelor in Paradise. Most of the time, you get an invitation to go there. Now, what I did like about Jess is that she says that she fell in love with herself. And you can see that she's still nervous, but she seems so much more confident. And I did like that she called Zach out, that she said, because I've been saying this all along, Zach, and he feels more performative to me. We're going to get to that. But Jess says it herself. I'm watching this back, and I see that as I'm leaving in the limo, because in the playback, right, that he's crying and he's upset. But why didn't he show that to me? If he had just shown me a little bit more empathy and some validation, that would have made all the difference. And that's what I really think was missing here. So good on Jess. I really liked her. And when she said that the glitter gave her confidence, I'm like, you go. You go. All right, let's talk about Greer. Now, Greer does clear some things up for us, that she says, let's face it, it wasn't really about the tea date. It was just that I wanted to get more one-on-one time, just like Jess, right? And watching it back, she says, I know I'm not this person. So I appreciated getting to know Greer, and she's not defensive at all. I think this was a nice piece. Now, this is the part that I think is completely new, and I really did appreciate, was when Jesse Palmer says,
The truth is, as a franchise, we've done a very poor job in the past of addressing serious topics.
woo, all right, we have something new happening. Lots of people can say, finally it's happening. We should have had this with Eric and Gabby's season, but we're having it happen now. So she's nervous. Of course, she addresses that she's nervous, Greer says, but she's been wanting to address this. And she says that I failed to talk about that what I did was racist. Period. Love this. Okay, me defending my friend was racist, and I am deeply shamed that I affected the Black community. I loved this apology, and this is what you should write down. The best kind of apology is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's not, I apologize if I hurt you. I apologize and you didn't understand me. Or I apologize, but I was angry. No ifs, ands, or buts. I apologize. I hurt you. Is the same thing as saying that what I did and said was racist, and I'm sorry. Okay, there's not much more to say about that. So some people could say, again, we should have had this a long time, but I do feel like something's happened and this is good. Now, the next part, which I really loved, is they brought in Dr. Kira Banks. She's in the audience. She said,
I think it's important to name and give voice when these sort of issues come up, when racism comes up, to be willing to name it.
Something so important. Do your research. Think before you talk. And do a deep dive into the meaning of blackface, because it is the symbolism for dehumanizing the Black community. And Jessie is happy to have Dr. Banks in the audience. And the quote of the night from Dr. Banks.
The reality is, we can't nice our way out of racism.
Wow, that was great. To understand the history, Greer talks about understanding herself, doing her own research, and Jessie spoke to that too. So I wanted to just say, overall, I thought this was really well done. Like, what franchise is this? Yes, I'm so happy for these types of changes. Finally, next up, we have Kat. As I said, I would have hoped to have seen maybe a little bit more from her. I feel like we're just sort of repeating ourselves with the whole situation with Brooklyn. She keeps wanting to know, what did she do? And this is the part when Zach comes out that I just feel like missed the mark. But the one thing that we do find out with from Kat is that she now has reviving a relationship with her mother. And I thought, this is lovely. These are the kinds of stories that really are exciting to me, because given one's experience on a show, that they're taking a look at themselves and building a better relationship. And so for me, that was the highlight. Again, I don't know exactly how the other women kind of feel about Kat. She's still a little bit of a mystery for me, but I loved this ending. Now, there's other people who get called out, and there's other storylines. Again, a lot of it's highly edited, but Anastasia gets called out that she had a boyfriend. Is that true? I don't know. Somebody, I guess it was Victoria J, is saying that we have mutual friends and you went on the show as a business. You had a boyfriend. I don't know. Does it really matter? Because I never really saw much with Anastasia. But now Zach comes out and he does the one-handed wave. And there's just something missing for me here. I don't know how you felt. Let me know what you think. But I don't know. Like, I've seen, people come out and say like, oh, I'm nervous. All my exes are here. Or I can't thank you all enough for having been on this journey. But I just didn't feel like even the way he addressed it felt that earnest, like something was missing. And it comes back to what I was talking about last week, that I feel like Zach's personality is a little bit more on that rigid part, a little bit more performative. Like he's saying the right things, but like there's affect missing here. Like even to say, well, this was hard. So he says it like off camera, but he doesn't say it directly to people. Kind of what Jess was picking up on. And so I felt like this was a miss. He could have came out and said, I'm watching it back. And Greer, you deserved better from me. Jess, you deserved better from me. He could have said, the ladies I didn't get to personally say goodbye, come here. Instead, they have to ask for the hug. So I wanted more from Zach. I'm not surprised, but I can keep wanting, right? And then when Kat says, again, what happened? I felt like, what did I do? And he says, oh, you didn't do anything. But remember, I did call out when they were in Estonia and he said, oh, Kat, I feel like there's a disconnect here. So even that, it's like now he's saying something different. Not that she actually did anything, but it was at that point that there was a disconnect. And now he's just saying, no, there was no disconnect and I just had to send somebody home. So all of that felt a little bit lacking, right? But the women, even Jess is trying to say, oh, I respect you, Zach. And did we ever hear that, how much Zach felt for the women? So I should land that. Finally, like the fun moment was the whole mold thing. And I'm like, oh my God, Zach, that he thought it was mold wine, not mulled wine. Anyway, I drink mulled wine. I love it in the wintertime. It's a warm drink. Cheers. And I just thought that was actually kind of cute. But like the look on his face when he had screwed up was like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Kind of back to like when he was talking about that he swore and his mother would be upset with him. So it all just comes back to sort of this, again, performative nature. Now, let me just summarize. Is there any reality? Is there any check that we can learn from all of this? Not much. But the Women Tell All this time did address some bigger issues for me, like racism, talking about microaggressions, talking about blackface. And I really did like that we went to just the next level. Now, let's also end with the exciting news, which is that Charity is going to be our next Bachelorette. I have been following Charity so closely, and because she has a master's degree in counseling that she's gotten from Georgia, I'm so thrilled. People talk about what a lovely person she is. All the other women just adore her. We saw that wonderful family of Charity. So I could not be more excited that Charity is going to be our next Bachelorette. And I really liked the way they announced it. I thought that was so sweet. And, doing this kind of quick question and Bachelor in Paradise versus Bachelorette. Now, what if she had said, oh, Bachelor in Paradise? I'm sure they would have edited that. But I just thought that was really well done. And the look of genuineness on her face just said it all. So people are applauding her. A couple other things that I thought were really cute. Like, give us more of these funny outtakes. The women doing like the butt dance with, was it Brianna and Anastasia and Allie and the kissing the orange. So I thought that was adorable. Is there anything we can learn from that? From all of this, the reality check? Well, if you're making an apology like Greer did, do the no ifs, ands, or buts, right? Talk explicitly about what you did. No one's intention is to hurt someone, but I hurt you. I'm sorry. And I think that's a really good thing. So that's what I want to say about apologies. We can learn how to do a good one. And here's the thing. People are very forgiving of someone's humanness. I think the beauty of the show, and I've talked with people who have been contestants before and everybody agrees to this, is there's no place to hide. And if you can learn from this and maybe you watch yourself and you see like a harshness, you go, I can change that. I can fix that. And so that's what I love to see, along with who we might get to see on the screen some more. But those people who really take a look and own their stuff. And I hope that for you too. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite moments from the Women Tell All?